Before Persia existed, before Iran was named, there was silence across endless plateau. Nomadic tribes wandered through deserts and mountains, chasing water, following seasons. This land was harsh, scorched by relentless summer heat, frozen by bitter winter cold. Yet from these unforgiving highlands, one of history's greatest civilizations emerged. Stay with us as we journey through 5,000 years of triumph and tragedy to understand. From Cyrus the Great to Ayatollah Khamenei, from ancient glory to modern-day struggle. This is 12 minutes to cross 50 centuries of Iranian history and extraordinary resilience. In 550 BC, a Persian chieftain named Cyrus united the fractured Median and Persian tribes forever. Within just 10 years, he had conquered Babylon, the greatest city the world had known at all. He freed the Jews from captivity and allowed them to return home to rebuild Jerusalem at last. His Achaemenid Empire stretched from Egypt to India, governing more than 50 million people. It was the largest empire Earth had ever seen, and Cyrus ruled with revolutionary new ideas. He let conquered peoples keep their gods, their languages, and their traditional customs everywhere. His decree on a clay cylinder became the first declaration of basic human rights in history. Persia was not merely powerful, it represented an entirely new way to govern diverse peoples. But empires built on tolerance could still bleed and die from unchecked royal ambition growing. In 480 BC, King Xerxes assembled more than 1 million soldiers for his planned Greek invasion. He bridged the Hellespont with boats, whipped the sea itself when storms broke them apart. His vast army marched into Greece and burned Athens completely to blackened, smoking rubble. Greece seemed finished, crushed beneath Persian might and overwhelming numerical superiority always. But at Salamis, in narrow straits, just 300 Greek ships shattered his massive fleet. Xerxes fled home humiliated, and Persia never recovered its unstoppable forward momentum again. Alexander the Great arrived like a hurricane in 334 BC with 35,000 battle troops. He was 22 years old, brilliant in strategy, fearless in battle, hungry for eternal glory. At Issus, he crushed the Persian army in one brutal afternoon of sword and flowing blood everywhere. At Gaugamela, he destroyed what remained of Achaemenid military power forever and completely. Then he marched into Persepolis and burned the jewel of Persia to smoking ash and ruins. 2 centuries of Persian dominance ended in flames, and the great empire simply vanished entirely. But Persian culture refused to die alongside its fallen kings and generals in defeat and loss. For nearly a century, Persia fragmented under Greek overlords, seemingly losing ancient identity. Then the Parthians rose from the eastern steppes in 247 BC to reclaim their ancestral land. They were master horsemen, deadly archers, experts in mobility and battlefield deception always. For 500 years, they ruled from the Euphrates River all the way east to distant India. They perfected the Parthian shot, turning in saddles to fire arrows while retreating fast. Roman legions learned to fear them after Crassus lost his head at bloody Carrhae in disaster. The Sasanian Empire replaced them in 224 AD, and Persia blazed back to magnificent glory again. Under Khosrow I in the 6th century, Ctesiphon became the richest city on all the earth. Its golden dome, the largest unsupported arch ever built, gleamed across the vast landscape. Persian silks, spices, jewels, and exquisite art flooded into Europe, India, and faraway China. Scholars translated Greek philosophy into Pahlavi, preserving precious knowledge for all posterity. Zoroastrian fire temples stood on every road, tended by priests in flowing white sacred robes. Persian culture dominated the known world, influencing art, architecture, and governance everywhere. Then Arab armies came in 637 AD, sweeping from the desert with a powerful and unifying faith. At Qadisiyah, Arab cavalry shattered the legendary Sasanian army in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Within 20 years, the entire Persian Empire had fallen to relentless Islamic conquest forever. Zoroastrianism, which had unified Persia for over 1,000 years, collapsed overnight completely. Fire temples were abandoned. Priests fled to distant India. Arabic replaced ancient Pahlavi language. It seemed like the complete end of Persian civilization, a total erasure of national identity. But Persia had survived Alexander's fire and would survive this transformation as well somehow. By the 9th century, Persians had brilliantly transformed Islam from within their own culture. Persian became the language of poetry, administration, and scholarship across all Islamic lands. Al-Khwarizmi invented algebra, laying foundations for all modern mathematical understanding today. Ferdowsi composed the epic Shahnameh, preserving pre-Islamic Persian myths in verse form forever. Rumi wrote mystical poetry that still echoes in human hearts across cultures even today, always. Persian miniature paintings depicted paradise in gold leaf and luminous lapis lazuli blue colors. The Arab conquerors had been conquered by the very culture they tried to erase from existence. The Mongols arrived in 1219, and history transformed into pure nightmare and total devastation. Genghis Khan's horsemen swept across Persia like a biblical plague of fire and cruel death. They leveled entire cities, slaughtered populations down to the last living child without any mercy. They destroyed irrigation systems built over centuries, turning fertile valleys into barren wastelands. In some regions, 90% of the population was systematically wiped out without any trace. Libraries burned, scholars were beheaded, centuries of knowledge vanished in weeks of pure horror. It was annihilation on a scale the world had rarely witnessed in all recorded human history. Yet somehow, impossibly, stubbornly, Persia rose from the ashes once more to live and breathe. In 1501, the Safavids seized power and changed Iran's destiny forever and completely at last. Shah Ismail declared Shia Islam the official state religion across all Persian lands everywhere. This single decision would define Iranian identity for the next 500 years to come. Under Shah Abbas III, Isfahan became one of the most beautiful cities on the whole earth. Its blue-tiled mosques, sprawling bazaars, elegant bridges became enduring symbols of national resilience. The Safavids had given Persia back its ancient soul and pride after long centuries of loss. The Safavid dynasty eventually weakened, and by the 18th century, chaos returned with full vengeance. Afghan warlords invaded, sacking Isfahan and massacring thousands in the narrow, crowded streets. Russia pressed down from the north, seizing valuable Caucasus territories in brutal wars quickly. The Qajar dynasty took control in 1794, but ruled over a broken and fragmented nation, sadly. Persia lost humiliating wars to Russia and ceded huge territories in shameful treaties forever. British companies extracted oil concessions, draining wealth while Persians lived in dire poverty. In 1906, Persians finally had enough and rose in mass rebellion against all foreign control. They forced the Shah to accept a constitution and created the Middle East's first true parliament. But foreign powers never stopped their relentless meddling in Iran's internal affairs at all, ever. During World War I, British and Russian troops occupied Iran despite declared strict neutrality. During World War II, Britain and the Soviets invaded again and deposed the ruling Shah entirely. After the war, Prime Minister Mossadegh tried to nationalize Iran's valuable oil industry finally. He wanted Iranians to control their own resources and benefit from their own national wealth. But in 1953, the CIA and MI6 orchestrated a brutal coup and overthrew him completely quickly. Mohammad Reza Shah was restored to absolute power, backed by American weapons and endless money. He ruled with increasing brutality, crushing all dissent with his feared secret police forces. Iran modernized rapidly under his iron reign, and oil money flooded into gleaming modern Tehran. But beneath the surface, resentment built steadily like pressure in an active, dangerous volcano. In 1979, the volcano finally erupted, and Iran burned with intense, revolutionary fury everywhere. Millions poured into the streets, chanting against the Shah and against foreign interference. Ayatollah Khomeini returned from exile in France to lead the religious revolution triumphantly home. The Shah fled into permanent exile, and the old secular order was devoured completely forever. An Islamic Republic was declared, and Iran became a strict theocracy under religious clerics. Secularists, leftists, moderates who had fought alongside clerics were brutally purged away quickly. Then came war, the longest conventional conflict the 20th century had ever witnessed at all. In 1980, Saddam Hussein invaded, hoping to seize oil-rich Khuzestan while Iran was very weak. The war lasted 8 brutal years and killed more than 1 million people altogether forever. Iranian teenagers went to the front with plastic keys to paradise around their thin young necks. Iraqi chemical weapons burned Iranian soldiers alive, leaving scars visible even decades later today. Cities were bombed into smoking rubble. The economy collapsed. The revolution hardened forevermore. When the war finally ended in 1988, it was merely a bloody and exhausting total stalemate. Today, Iran is home to 85 million people and remains a significant regional power. It wields influence spanning from Lebanon through Iraq to distant Yemen and beyond all borders. It has endured decades of crippling sanctions, international isolation, recurring internal protests. Young Iranians chafe under clerical rule, yearning for freedom, connection, and true modernity. Yet Persian culture, language, and fierce pride remain unbroken after 5,000 years still. The poetry of Hafez is still recited in homes across the nation every single day today. The ruins of Persepolis still stand in the desert, whispering of ancient, lost, glorious days. 5,000 years of conquest and collapse, of glory and grief and stubborn human survival. Empires rose from dust and returned to dust in endless cycles of creation and complete destruction. Persia died and was reborn so many times that death seems like just another passing season. From Cyrus to Khamenei, the thread never broke. The culture never truly died at all ever. Like and subscribe, because the next ancient civilization we explore is even far older than this.